is going on, everybody? Welcome in to the North End Podcast, episode 262. My name is Zach Graham, your host here in the North End, joined, as always, by my good buddy. He's on record as my best friend. His name is Ian Micho, and we call him
E.
He's sitting here on a Sunday, once again disappointed. Austin, Texas, coming off a 3-1 loss at the hands of St. Louis City SC. How you feeling, my friend?
Oh, exhausted, man. Just beat down from this last week here with the cup final there. Can't even speak. And then last night, walking in there, that was one of the rare times you and I both have ever said, man, I don't really want to be here right now. Like, it's tough to be here today. And walking out of there last night, obviously super disappointed. I'm still just so heartbroken for these guys. And I think that the hangover from the championship game was evident last night, and it really hurt us. And I salute them because I think the energy level was there, but it just looked like everyone was just kind of in a daze, a little bit of a haze, some confusion, and that's to be expected. We're looking at the results earlier. Nashville gets a draw versus Montreal. So we had the both sides of the spectrum there, coming off the super high of winning a championship and then having to rebound on, 2 days notice, and then the super low of losing a championship game and then having to rebound and dropping that match. So I'm bummed for sure. But again, playoffs are right in front of us. You could clinch tonight without having to do anything. So that's good news. And then you're going to have another opportunity on Sunday to get the job done for this season, to qualify for the playoffs and lock yourself into a wild card spot. So we got to rebound. The team's got to rebound, and we'll get there.
Like we had a rebound and a rebound in that last
That's
sentence.
right. Yeah, that's for rebounds for all the people. Whatever you want. You like tomatoes, you like tomatoes. I can do both of those things.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, we expected that, not a 3-1 loss.
Yep.
But the hangover.
Yep.
And I think, to your point, right? We both said I don't want to be here, in the sense of emotionally, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to get your fan emotions going and get ready to go and chant for 90 minutes last night. And so I would also shout out to all the people that did, because I thought the crowd could have been more sparse than it was last night.
I'm right there with you. Absolutely. Because, I think a lot of the fans are feeling that way. I mean, shout out to Burley and Ollie, who went to ACL. Have children, and you're still doing that, and you show up to the game that night as well. So we got some real diehard fans out there, and I salute that, man. It just wasn't enough from the guys last night.
Well, we'll recap last night's match in full. Got a couple pieces of Austin FC news to talk about, and of course, last business day, second team MLS Next Pro Decision Day here on Sunday, and that made for a bit of an exciting afternoon here. Before we get into the rest of episode 262, your typical reminder that whether you're watching us on the YouTube channel or listening to the audio version, you can support the show financially by downloading the audio version of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts. So Apple, Spotify.
We got apples, we got tomatoes, we got rebounds and rebounds. Everything, y'all.
Fucking toggle on auto downloads, everybody. And you can go the extra mile, rate and review the show wherever you get those pods. If you are watching on the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. It does help us grow the show. You can also hit the notification bell to know when a live stream pops up or a new episode goes live. And of course, here on episode 262, hit the thumbs up, like the video, help us battle the YouTube algorithm overlords, atone for your sins. Wash yourselves clean in the waters of the North End. So I guess let's start with a little bit of the news, and we can run through the international call-ups here, right? Because we've known for a long time that this October international window was coming up. We've had a little bit of an extra microscope on this coming weekend because of that postponed match against LAFC. There will be 5 first-team players missing next weekend. The first one is Mirtu Azuni, and really none of these surprises here, E. So Mirtu called up to the Albanian national team for the World Cup qualifier against Serbia, and then a friendly against Jordan. So I would expect you're going to see Azuni in that qualifier, and then I would have fingers crossed that he's going to sit out of that friendly because we'll have decision day and then the playoffs coming on the heels of that following the break. Second guy we can talk about here, Danny Pereira getting called up to Venezuela. I believe they only have one match this window, and it is a friendly, right? Remember, they were knocked out of World Cup qualifying last window in September, but they do have a friendly here against Argentina, and maybe some more opportunity here for Danny with the Vinotinto because of the friendly nature of this fixture here. So going up against Argentina, no matter who they're rolling out on that side, that is that's a big matchup for almost any nation to go up against the Argentinians.
Absolutely. Congrats to both these guys for sure. And I hope Danny's able to get some run here and get some more experience, but staying healthy.
Yeah, well, and LAFC is getting ready for the Heinz-Ike-Djordjevic pairing next weekend because Alexander Svatak gets called up for the Ukrainian World Cup qualifiers against Iceland and Azerbaijan, and then Julio Cascante getting the call up once again for Costa Rica. 2 qualifying matches for Los Ticos against Honduras and Nicaragua. And then last but certainly not least here, Micah Burton getting the call up to the U.S. Youth National Team U20 camp. So to be honest, a step below, right, where you want to be at that U20 level, because they were just at the U20 World Cup, or I think that is still ongoing. But Micah's still, on the radar there of the youth national team. So congrats to the center backs. Congrats to Micah on that recognition, and stay healthy, boys.
Yep. Best of luck to all of them. And, Micah, like you said there, still finding his way a little bit, still trying to get some PT, get called up and see himself representing the country like that. That'd be awesome to see. But best of luck to everyone involved there.
So just wanted to put this on the radar for the sickos out there. And I'm sure for you too, E. I know when this free agency list is released every year, you and I rush to peruse. I did, of course, give it that initial perusal a few days ago. And as per usual, not a ton of guys that are just straight up out of contract, right? The vast majority of these guys have those team options. So you'll have to wait till November. I believe the first item on the offseason calendar, which was also released, is November 26th. That is the deadline to exercise those contract options. So I will tell you, the one guy that is out of contract on this list that I would love to add to the Austin FC roster, but I think would be very hard to pry him away from not only his own team, but then the rest of the league potentially chasing him, is Paul Rothrock out of contract there. Yeah, so that would be, if you need left wings here, I would take that.
That would be really nice. I would also be shocked if Seattle lets him walk away for nothing there. I'm super excited to take a look at this because this is always a little fun to check out and everything. Sometimes you find some gems in there, and Paul Rothrock would be one of those options. So super excited to check that out.
Yeah, and of course, that'll be something we touch on a lot more once the offseason hits, which again, hopefully we're extending our contract extension deadline, because if you are still alive in the MLS Cup playoffs come November 26th, which is a thing given the international breaks in the middle of these playoffs, we would love to be, of course, in the MLS Cup final, but we'll talk more about the free agency list and the offseason schedule. But again, just wanted to put this on everybody's radar that the league put this out in the last week. I mentioned that deadline on November 26th for the clubs to exercise those contract options. Of course, if you are an offseason sicko here with us, you recall that Roto moves much quicker than that deadline that the league gives. Then free agency will begin at noon on December 10th. The next day, on December 11th, is the reentry draft, stage 1. End of year waiver process is the same evening there on the 11th. Reentry stage 2, Wednesday the 17th, which is the eve of the MLS Super Draft. That will take place on Thursday, December 18th. So, we will be looking into Super Draft prospects. Who can we get at the 20th pick or wherever we're going to end up, somewhere around there. But just wanted to again say, because as the season's winding down, the North End does not stop. We do go to once a week, but we will be diving maybe entirely too far into some of these off-season mechanisms.
That sounds pretty classic North End right there. And then once that stuff starts rolling, man, it really comes hot and fast and like hot and heavy and everything like that. So something to keep your eye on. And if you're a true sicko, we'll be here for you. We'll be providing the crumbs and the tidbits.
Yeah, of course. So let's get into this game from last night here, E. And look, man, I know we said coming into the stadium, walking up to the queue up the steps there, is like, man, it doesn't feel great, right? Still, like we needed some more time to process. Assume the guys do as well, but I know this put a huge smile on both of our faces meeting Katie, who's a listener, as soon as we step inside Q2 last night. And like Katie even was like, I've been listening since episode 42, like had the number ready to go. And so to be able to meet Katie, very, very nice. We appreciate the support. And to be honest, the enthusiasm and positivity that Katie was showing for the match last night, that did get me a little bit more amped up to get into our seats there.
I agree. It gave me a ton of juice there. And that was just awesome to hear. And been there since episode 42. I was like, God dang, like that was when I was barely recording with a microphone.
True.
So true. Like that was super impressive. So big shout out to Katie. It was wonderful to meet you and very, very, very much appreciate you for being a fan here.
Yeah, and maybe good that she didn't start till episode 42, because if it was episode 1, you might not have stuck around.
And this is your classic warning to never watch that episode. I want to see I'd see the episode title here for episode 42. Oh, it's in Spanish, so I can't even say it.
I'm gonna guess that was about Maxie and Diego.
Seguimos sin entender.
Yeah, we don't understand. Oh man, still appropriate here.
There we go.
Still appropriate. I will also shout out and credit to you, E, for remembering our buddy Joseph's name, who we saw at the corner store after the match. And Joseph, great to meet you. Excited for you to be over in the North End next year, gaining some additional season tickets there. So just wanted to shout out Joseph. Anything else for you, E, before we kind of move into this recap?
No, sir.
Run it back from Thursday's episode. Could we have gotten the lineup more wrong? Again, like I don't
this one was more confusing.
Yes, because John Gallagher is in there as expected, but not in the position we expected. He's starting, and John Coleman is coming off the bench. I was thinking back to last night because we have lots of conversations and emotions, no matter the setting for any of these home games. I'm pretty sure somebody either suggested to me or told me that they heard somewhere that John Colemanich may have a knock, right? Which kept him out on Wednesday and kept him off the bench for this one. But Gally back there with Dessler, Heinz Fatak, and then you look ahead, really Diego Rubio is the only other change. So this is very much a first choice bounce back type of lineup. And when we saw it, man, I was excited. I was like, all right, these guys, like they're coming out here with a purpose. We're going to get this done tonight. Try to shed the emotional baggage of Wednesday in a hurry here. So I appreciate that approach here. Clearly, it did not go according to plan.
Yeah, I mean, with Komanich, man, that has to be the case. You know what I mean? Like for him to not be on the team in the championship game, the way that he's been playing this season, his best season to date, I think by a very wide margin, to not be on the team and then not get the start last night. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. And like we have talked about the struggles of John Gallagher on this podcast for a couple months now, I would say. And he is even worse on the left because he does not possess a strong left foot. And there was plenty of times where we had him receive the ball in the corner and he's got to come back to his right to try to make something happen. And I don't think he had a single cross from that position last night that was viable and maybe even existed because I don't remember one, to be honest with you. So again, I think this lineup had enough to get it done for sure when you have Buka and you have Mirtu out there and you have Owen out there and you got Pep out there. And I
mean, you fucking better have enough to get it done with. Those are our best players.
Yeah. And to play this St. Louis team who, on the preview, I mentioned they weren't very good, but they had guys that I respected. And Marcel Hartel was one of them. And he showed his class last night. I think Klaus was a bit of a menace for us as well. But Hartel showed his quality. And that was something that I was concerned with.
John Gallagher 0 for 1 accurate crosses last night.
Okay.
So there you go. Only one attempt, but not accurate.
No.
So getting into this one, and like you mentioned, right, St. Louis also had, at this point of the season, what I think they would consider their first choice lineup. And it was definitely a benefit to us that Edward Leuven was out with a personal issue, and that was not on the injury report. So we expected to see him. And then when he was not, a little extra cookie in Austin's favor on paper. Let's pick this one up in the 10th minute here, where Danny slides it out to Osman on that right side of the 18, and Buka's got the one-on-one here with Conrad Valum, and Osman just easily speeds around him right to the end line before cutting it back towards Mirtu about 7 yards from net. Kessler was able to interrupt that, and his touch dropped the ball to the foot of Danny. And Danny kind of took a moment, a touch or two to assess before dropping it back towards Ilie by the way of Heinzike. And Ilie makes a great through ball here towards Buka in behind.
Oh.
And Azuni steps in front of it and cuts it out. And Austin ends up committing a foul and turning it over. I don't think Mirtu saw Buka making that run. Either way, that's a mistake and a chance killer, man, because Buka was, he very well may have put this into the side netting near post, right? But it was going to be a dangerous chance and just a misstep there that was just unfortunate. Again, if he saw him and still took that pass for himself, that's probably a little worse.
Yeah, for sure. And those are passes that Mirtu has been begging for like all season long. It's visible. You can see him being demonstrative, asking for the rock in that position. So I'm not entirely sure if he saw Buka or not, but if you let that go through your legs and dummy that, he's in on keeper. And like you said, maybe he puts it into the side netting. Maybe Roman Berkey, a high quality keeper in this league, comes up with a nice save. But if you could have gotten on the board first in this game, I think that would have taken a little bit of that hangover off of you, and you would have been feeling pretty good about yourself. And the action to start, I think it was on display with Buka on that right side, like you said, giving Valum just work on that side of the pitch right to start out this game. And again, just a little bit of just sloppiness from the start that just hasn't been there all season long. Obviously, there's games that you can point to where we haven't looked of the quality that we think this team is, but it just seemed a little bit like just a cloud hanging over the guys here. There was not a lot of joy last night, and a lot more frustration on faces than we've seen as of late.
23rd minute here, St. Louis working it forward down the left, and Pompeu lofts a floating cross towards the head of Joao Klaus, but not nearly enough on that headed attempt to trouble Stuver, who makes his first save of the night. And Brad rolls it out to Owen, who progresses towards near midfield. Nobody closing him down, so he's just taking the space, and he has plenty of time to pick out Osman making a run in behind, and thought Wolf weighted it quite well here to just let it go right into Osman's path, sprinting down that right side. And from our angle in the north end, he had Azuni running centrally, and I think the angle for Mirtu to make a near post run here, you at least get a shot on target, if not put it in the back of the net. And Azuni peels off towards the back post, and Buka put a low service in towards that near post run. And I don't think it was clearly in the loss. It's nobody's best night wearing, green and black, but the start here for Mirtu, like you said, it's like you just have a fog mentally, not just emotionally, right? But on the individual level and as a team, like that was just not a smart run, in my opinion. And if I can pick that out on the fast break, and then I feel like it holds true on the rewatch, like it's poor.
Yeah, disconnected really, and this front facing run, this front cutting run is wide open to go ahead. And we know notoriously that Buka prefers playing these balls towards the near post. He's not someone who lofts a lot of balls to the back far post there. And we also know that Mirtu isn't that great in the air. I don't think Mirtu is expecting a cross that's in the air here to the back post, and that's why he makes that run. But for that, it was never going to work with those guys making those two separate decisions, because if the ball is still low and it does get past the first St. Louis defender, Berkey's going to be able to handle that because the window would have been so small that Mirtu was peeling off towards that back post, man. So yeah, just out of sync really. And not a great start for Mirtu, like you said, and of all the people that I saw after the championship game, the looks on their faces and everything, he was the most devastated. And what has been lost in this conversation about the championship matchup and Mirtu in particular is that he scored a fantastic goal for us in that game. That put us on the board, that gave us hope, life, a chance to go ahead. And there were so many variables in that game that were out of our control that were taking place. But like everyone is focusing on that PK. And it was a bad PK for sure. But we can't crucify this guy for missing one PK. We're going to need him for these last 2 games and then a playoff matchup, at least hopefully just, more than one playoff matchup, to advance. And I'm really sad for him, man, because obviously everyone's bringing up his contract figures now, his counting stats and all of that. We're also down a DP, y'all. We've been playing half a season without one of our DP players. You know what I mean? So we need guys like Mirtu to be ready to roll. And I saw some conversations on Reddit like, why are we paying guys money if they're going to produce like guys who we pay $150,000? And it's like, can we not do that, y'all? Like, that is not how this works, man. If you roll out a lineup with guys you have no DP level contracts, then who you going to crucify? Literally everyone.
Yeah.
So I really feel for Mirtu, and I hope that he can put this one behind him as well.
Yeah.
And maybe a trip, with the international duty will be good for him to kind of get away from this scene for a little bit. But we need him, y'all. So yeah, that's my soapbox on Mirtu for the rest of the episode. But
okay, don't put it away. I mean, we may need it again. I don't know.
He wasn't great to start.
Yeah. Well, in the next minute here, St. Louis in possession wins a free kick going that other way, and Hartel, I want to say this was just over midfield into the Austin half. Hartel launches it into the 18 where Kessler redirects it on frame. It was so soft, I didn't think that was going to be counted as a shot, but they sure did give Brad credit for that save here. So with that, he surpassed Tony Meola's MLS record for saves in a 5-season span. So again, we could sit here and talk about how maybe it's not the record you want to be breaking because it indicates how many shots you're taking on water at the back there. But I'd rather it be that record than most goals given up in a 5-season span. So congrats to Brad. We're still building that statue.
Yeah. Huge shout out to Brad, man. Big congrats. And yes, that is my take exactly. It could go the other way. He could have been giving up 3 goals a night.
He could be John Postgame
dealing with a barrage of shots for years here. So shout out to Brad. That was a nice little moment. What's up with the scoreboard? Did we lay off the stats guy? Can we Can we not get a fucking little banner that just says he broke the record for 5 years save count?
Right.
Because most of the people in the stadium didn't know. Obviously, we're keeping an eye on it.
Yeah.
And I think it would have been nice to give him a nice little, standing O for that.
I agree. And it was hard enough again for us because I think Brian turned around to us and I was like, that's not a save.
Yeah.
It was just this whole floating header. It didn't even look like it was really on target. But so my bad, Brian. You were right. 28th minute here. Dessler takes a throw just inside the Austin half, far side of the broadcast camera. And he drops it right into Danny. And Danny's got his momentum headed back towards his own net, but in zero danger whatsoever here of a turnover or anything. And he just blasts it up into the air, into the night sky, and it ends up being Sang-Bin Jong who gets under it. He chests it down to Morales, who touches it ahead to Hartel. And the St. Louis DP turns, finds himself in a ton of space, and Ilya's trying to sprint back here and affect his shot in the slightest bit, and he just can't get there. And Hartel takes that touch towards the middle of the park to set up a shot that zips past Brad into the top corner of the net for the lead about a half hour in here. And I think you have to credit Hartel, their best player, for the shot, the skill here, but that's also just lazy from Danny. It is a lapse in focus, in judgment, and I'm saying that as somebody who still thinks he was the one that looked the most aggressive and the one who wanted to turn things around and get back on the winning track. But maybe his emotions got the better of him in some of these moments last night, because this is just a flat out mistake. And again, it's poor play. And then again, nobody's stepping to Hartel either. I know there were runners, but like neither Sfati or Heinzike or anybody. It's just up to old ass Ilya, he's not catching Hartel at that point.
Yeah.
And giving his all, but again, 1-0. Sometimes you got to credit the offense, but it started with our mistake.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I'll start with Danny because he played the hardest out of anyone last night.
And it was noticeable, right?
Yes. And it does not translate to playing the best out of
Right.
everyone who was out there on the pitch last night, but he definitely played the hardest and was committed to playing hard to try to get off of that loss from the championship game. That was his focus from the rip. He was super active all over the field last night, so I'm going to give him a lot of credit for that. But in the same sentence here, this is a horrible decision. Yeah. And then it's interesting because this is the one play where he seems to take it off because the ball had so much air on it, and he's just kind of looking at it and staring at it. And then when Hartel does receive this pass, like you said, Ilya trailing here, Danny's trailing here. It looks like we have three guys that are trying to get back to impact what Hartel's going to do. Picks out the top right corner, a great strike, and there's nothing Brad could do with that. And this is when you really started to see some of the sloppiness come into play for Austin, where some of these passes were poor, some of the decision-making was poor, and I thought a lot of guys last night were afraid of the moment. There was opportunities to take some shots outside of the box, to see what Berkey had, to go ahead and like try to create a chance for us. And we seemed pretty content to just kind of keep pinging that ball around and pinging it backwards as well. And I just don't think that was the right mindset. And like, obviously if it had worked out and you make a couple nice passes, bing, 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 you score, beautiful. But like someone outside of Danny, I felt like needed to have a bit aggression last night.
Somebody could have matched that, gotten on his level with that intensity. Anyways, we'll keep it moving here. 34th minute, you get a yellow card to Morales for a tough challenge on Danny. And I'm glad Danny's all right there because he did slide into his knee and like a little bit of a buckle there. So glad he's no worse for wear. 36th minute here, Owen wins a corner after he was taking on two defenders and took a shot trying to split those defenders. They got deflected out over the end line. And on that corner, Owen whips it to the back post where Svatak rises up, bops it home over Tomas Totland, and we're level. Yep. And Svatak has his first goal, and I love his celebration. He just turns around, marches back. Gets the crowd up. I think two claps like that, and like a
Yeah. I got it.
And Mikael Dessler comes in and gives him a big old hug. And it's like, Svatak this man is just all about business. Yeah. And everybody else was so happy for him. It was just that was a good moment. Even this morning on the rewatch, knowing what's coming after it, like that did put a smile on my face.
It did. That is a wonderful, wonderful play to see there for Svatak. Great corner. What an attempt. I thought our corners last night were actually really crisp, and I thought that was something that stood out for us. I think Owen was the best player in the field last night for us in regard to his chance creation, in regard to his hold-up play, and in regard to beating players one-on-one in duels. And this was a fantastic ball. And I love the Svati celebration. He's like, all right, I got to get back and guard someone. Like, like this is no time for celebration.
41st minute here. Great skill from Buka to free himself up down this right side. And Kessler and Fall both cut off passing lanes to Mirtu and Mikael Dessler, respectively. So Buka drops this one to Danny, who's making a run near the top of the box. And Danny, I think, very smartly here, lets it run through for Ilya, who's crashing behind him. Mm-hmm. And Ilya has a rip on frame, but Morales gets down, nods it away for a corner. And just for a second here, I know we're going to talk about fucking head injuries and how we deal with them here. These St. Louis players, and I think we've seen this from some other teams around the league throughout the season. These guys are 100% coached to, if you're a defender and you take a header in the box, fall. Yeah. Because these guys go down like they've been shot. Yeah. And they are fine.
Totally fine.
They're fine. We get a stoppage there. And of course, we're going to unleash the fucking anger later on this one. But like, I don't know, man. That's like, we enjoy some gamesmanship. now and again, but this is just I don't get down with this faking head injuries.
You are abusing the rule.
Yes,
if
exactly.
You're doing this. Like, you're abusing it, and it's disgusting that this took place. I forgot about this one, and it makes what happens in the second half even worse.
Yeah,
because yes, of course, this is built in to the play. If this happens twice, I think it's two different players too.
Yeah, it's Morales, and then it's Durkin,
Kessler?
I think, later.
Oh, Durkin. Yeah, dude, this was a joke, man, with these two head injuries, man. They're not even injuries. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This is the most important injury people are trying to fucking avoid in all sports nowadays. And you are abusing this rule. Gross.
So on the corner, Owen floats it to Mirtu at kind of the backside of the 18, right at the top of the 18-yard box. And Mirtu just volleys it out of the air towards that, what is now a far post for him. And it goes just wide, man. And the way he runs back, it's almost like you shot a three and you know it's going in, so you start backpedaling.
Yep.
He starts whirling away, and it goes just wide, man. I thought it was in from our angle too. And we got to see our buddy Logan Okwai last night, so it was great to see Logan. And he noted at halftime, and so I made sure to watch for this on replay. He pointed out that this may have come back for a foul on Ilie if that ball does go in.
Yeah.
My counterpoint is, though, the head official is right there watching and is staring at it, telling Morales, no, it's not a foul. And so, like, does VAR actually come in and make him overturn it when he's right there? We've fucking seen it before, but it would have been interesting to see how it played out. And no matter what, probably would have raised my blood pressure.
Yeah, I mean, this is a sexy, sexy play here. Again, these corner kicks last night were really, really nice. I think there was one earlier as well that we didn't talk about because nothing comes of it, but we played it super long to Svatak, who tried to put it back into the mix, and that was another nice play. So these corners last night, if there's something to take away from this game, that was positive. Were definitely the corner kicks. This would have been one of the goals of the season if he was able to finish this. But yes, there is a lot of contact with Ilie there. But man, would have been feeling great. And I still was feeling fine getting into halftime 1-1. I was, and this would have really just been such a relief for the guys to be in at halftime up 2-1.
43rd minute, you get a yellow card to Ilie for running through Kessler on a break. Kessler was out there on a solo mission. I thought, watching it live, I was on Ilie's side, and then you see it on the rewatch this morning. That is very much a yellow card foul there, buddy. And then 45th minute here. Off a Brad Stuver goal kick. St. Louis brings that down with Pompeu, and he and Joao Klaus combine down the left to move it quickly back into the Austin 18. And Pompeu squares it to the spot where Hartel has beat Brendan Hines-Ike to that pass. And then Hartel dips his shoulder back centrally to square himself to net. And I don't know if you saw the replay on this one, dude, but he hits it with the outside of his boot to spin it past Stuver into the net and to retake the lead before half. And now you're pissed, you're disappointed. And again, you also have to credit Hartel here because there are defensive lapses. You should be able to beat that guy to the spot and cut it out. But once he does get there, man, it is the brilliance of that player to put this one in the back of the net. He's
a good player, man. And this is a backbreaker. This is a big time backbreaker because now you got to muster all this energy up again after halftime to go ahead and rally. I think this is poor defense by BHI. I really do. They don't have too many guys in the box here. And I think, obviously, I think he's ball watching a little bit, and you can track back and pick up Hartel a little bit earlier so you're not delayed on trying to get this deflection. But he's a good player, man. He was a guy I was worried about. And this was on display here. This is a beautiful goal. Two of them. Both of his goals were beautiful.
So coming out of the half, no changes for either side. But St. Louis did kick it out to the corner immediately. So they were, even up 2-1 on the road here, looking to turn up the pressure on Austin. And Austin does begin the second half with the majority of the ball here and looking for some ideas in the final third in the 53rd minute. Osman and Danny combine on the right side before Osman tries to slip Owen through in behind. And Falou Fall gets a touch to deflect that pass away, but it falls right to Besard Sabovic, 16 yards center of net. And he slips down on the shot attempt and it goes out for a goal kick. There were lots of guys on the Austin side slipping and losing their footing last night. I don't know if it was, I don't feel like we see that a lot on our home pitch. I don't know if some of these guys were wearing different cleats or different studs or what it was, but that was not something that certainly helped us last night because it didn't appear that St. Louis was having the same traction issues.
Yeah, no, that was a bit confusing. And, I was also, like we said, the one thing we were emphasizing with the St. Louis team last night or on the preview was they're going to be playing free. And they implemented a high press for a lot of this game, which is not something that they have been known for. Yeah. And I think Austin really played into their hands with how we were trying to beat that press. It was a lot of in the back horseshoe, kind of moving around. How many goal kicks did we just play short and allow them to have that pressure on us? Mm-hmm. And I think that was a real error last night. And also put the emphasis on St. Louis was the more aggressive team. St. Louis was the team that was dictating pace. And when you have both of those things going on with the fact that Austin was in a bit of a day's hangover situation here, it levels the playing field for a team that's of lesser quality as St. Louis is. And I think that that's pretty obvious from where they're at in the table and what they've been suffering through this season. But you played into their hands a little bit too much, man. And I would have liked to have seen some more attempts, particularly with Buka up the right with Conrad Valum and getting him into space behind that back line, man. So I think you played into their hands just a little bit too much last night.
Well, talking about that press, right? I mean, their average height of their defensive actions last night was a little more than 6.5 meters above their season average. And this is a full season sample at this point.
Yes.
Right? So you see it in the stats as well as the eye test. 56th minute. You do get the first changes here for Austin a little bit earlier than you're used to with a Nico Estevez rotation there, but I think it makes all the sense in the world considering what we just came off of on Wednesday night. So it's Kolmanich and Rubio in for Dessler and Sabovich. Obviously, that moves Johnny G over to the right back position. 64th minute, you get St. Louis City 2 subbing on with, I think it's Mackay Joyner, not Mikey, as I've been saying for a couple months here, but Joyner and then the dreaded Brendan McSorley, who I caught myself, I think, in the 94th minute on the broadcast screaming at him.
Yeah. You let him have it at least once.
They come in for Jongsang Bin and Celio Pompeu. So, while those guys are dangerous, and you see it over the last half hour here, that is a downgrade overall, talent-wise, up front. 69th minute, CJ in for Ilie. So, not like for like there. Austin certainly going for it, pushing for an equalizer. McSorley picks up a yellow 3 minutes later for pulling Kolmanich down on a break, or not down, but pulling him back on a break. And then 77th minute. So I think you see Austin really visibly starting to show some serious, not just frustration, but fatigue as well. Yep. In this moment, Owen Wolf completely doubled over, both in and out of possession for 30 seconds here. And that's where I think in the stadium where I started to feel like this is probably not our night. Because on the next stoppage, you get Taylor and Duber-Sarski in for Owen and Bukhari. Also Betcher for Klaus on the other side. But at that point, again, it's maybe we pull something out of our ass here. But having the vast majority of the ball here in the second half and not a ton of ideas on how to break down St. Louis at the back.
Yeah, nothing really going on that was too attractive for Austin here. Obviously, I like getting Dessler off this early. I thought maybe you could have gone Ilie instead of Sabovich, given what they did, playing wise over the last week and everything. But I'm not going to nitpick it too much. I will say, and he didn't play, but to continue the shittiness that Guilherme Biru has had as of late, you really hurt your team not being available last night. Absolutely. Because he would have started on the left, which would have pushed Johnny potentially to sub on at the right or even start on the right side for Dessler. Mm-hmm. But we were so hampered by that. And, sometimes those things just add up and they're little things. And to your point, we just hadn't, you would have had to muster a ton here to get back into this game. And we just didn't have any fuel left in the tank. We just really didn't.
80th minute, you got St. Louis out on the counter after Austin was kind of pushed up on a free kick. Betcher's leading a 3-on-2 break here. He's got Joyner centrally and Hartel trailing a bit down the left. Betcher plays a fantastic ball right on the foot of Joyner, and Austin is lucky that, Joyner, a next pro Golden Boot contender, and kind of taken out of the race by being up with the first team here at the end of the year. We're very lucky he puts it wide, because that could have been the game.
Yes, absolutely. They had a couple of attempts here. Obviously, once this game starts to break down a little bit, Austin's really trying to push forward and just didn't have the legs to get back on some of these fast breaks here that St. Louis was putting up. You got lucky here.
Yeah, and this is probably the last solid chance here for Austin. It's in the 83rd minute, still probing around that final third. And right here, Danny finds a lot of space and nearly an identical look to the Seattle winner from 2 weeks ago, because Pereira picks out Fodre, who's floating into some space at that back post, and he connects with Danny's service, heading it down right into the path of Mirtu. But in this moment, Azuni can't make good contact, and Kessler barrels over him. No foul. It's just kind of momentum, and Azuni also making a challenge on that ball, and Roman Berkey scoops it up, and nothing doing. But again, that was like eerily similar to what we saw 2 weeks ago in the North End.
Yeah, not a foul. I saw some people asking for it, but I didn't think that would have been a foul. Maybe with Torrey Penso. What's the other ref that we hate? Seattle guy? What's his name?
Fucking Drew Fisher, dude.
All right, well, you're gonna be immortalized, babe. You're in the books now, so you will be getting random shout outs every now and then. It will come up, so get used to it. And credit to the guys, man, because this is a good attempt, and Mirtu's out there fighting and banging and trying to make something happen. And I believe one shot on target in the second half, nothing Berkey really had to deal with.
No, not at all. 85th minute, Austin wins a corner, and Robert Taylor's on the corner. His service finds the head of Hindsight, but Brendan's header goes kind of straight up. He positions himself back under it and tries to loft it in again, but the ball pings off of Durkin's noggin, and again, he crumples like he's dead, and play is stopped with Austin in possession still right around the 18. And again, first of all, did not get hit that hard.
Nope.
You can see it live and especially on the replay. And like I said earlier, I just have in my notes here, him and Morales both did the same thing, one in each half. These dudes are clearly being coached to drop whenever they get hit. The ball grazes them in the box, and he's fine. And then the ref drops the ball to St. Louis without like, if you're going to drop it to Berkey and be like, you have to boot it now to Austin and let them build back up. Frustrating, but okay.
Yep.
There's no fucking way that this is the spirit of the rule and how it should be applied. And it's just the latest fucking glaring atrocity.
Yeah.
That these officials, whether it's a U.S. soccer sanctioned game or we have these PRO officials for MLS, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I was talking to Doran this morning. I was telling him about it. He goes, oh, well, breaking news. Officials suck? You're saying that? I'm like, oh, well, you're right. But like, Durkin is allowed right back on too, which that is the rule for the head injury. You don't have to do the 2 minutes. But that's where, to me, especially if you're going to give him the fucking ball, and you can you VAR that this dude is fucking fine because it just barely bounced off his neck? These are dudes that slam their heads into the ball all night long.
Yeah. This cannot be how this rule should be applied. I'd have to see it. I don't think the ref is just making this up. I don't think it's a bad call. I think it's a shit rule that is being applied. Maybe I'm wrong there.
Hopefully usually when we have rules questions, some of the North End faithful will comment and let us know either where we're wrong or educate us about a rule. There's no fucking way that the rule is guy goes down in the box, his team gets the ball.
You just get the ball. And it's okay, if you're going up for a header, fall down every time.
Yes.
And we've seen it I can't remember which game it was, right? But I think it's Biru going up for a header versus someone else, and they actually hit heads. And
I think that was in the South End as well. It was
in the South
End. Back. Yeah,
yes, it was in the South End. And I don't even think that got awarded with the other team getting the ball.
No.
The play continued until we had to get the guy off the field. So I don't know how it's being interpreted. I don't know how it's written, but I do know it's really fucking stupid. I know that much because this is, and are you gonna score because of this? Are you gonna, is it going to change the game? I don't know, but it's fucking dominant.
That's why we lost, dude. If they would have given us the ball right there, we score, get the point.
Would have hit the 2-pointer.
Exactly.
This is not player safety, because this is not how this should be applied. And if you're abusing it,
I think that's the thing for me. It's the players and the team, St. Louis, abusing this rule. And there's got to be some sort of medium there. Or if they're not going to change it, I don't want it to be like this, but Austin guys need to do that.
I agree.
Especially we're trying to see out a game, bro. Head the ball, go down. I'm dead. But it's a head injury, so I can come right back on.
Which is absurd. Absurd. Shit.
5 minutes of stoppage time given. You do get Ostrak in for Hartel in the first minute. Then in the third minute, you get Austin turning the ball over and St. Louis slicing right through once again with a great ball from Morales in behind to Simon Betcher, who chips it over Stuver for the third goal and looked live, both offside and a handball when he brings this down. Stuver was also not happy with something. I couldn't tell if it was one of those two things or he was also pointing to the other side of the field. So I don't know what he was unhappy with there, but nobody's happy in Verde and Black. And there was a VAR check and the goal is given, but even on the replay, man, he looks not by much.
Yep.
He does look offside.
He does.
But of course, we don't know because the angles are shit and we don't have the technology to draw lines. And it's just that it's not up to par, our video review. If we're going to have video review, let's have video review. And put some more resources into this, man, because again, I don't think Austin was not coming back in this one. If they would, it would have been out of fucking nowhere.
Yeah, it would have been a miracle. Absolutely.
But can we get this right? We have the ability, and look, it's not a money thing. It ain't money that you guys can't put into this. No. So just be better. We got to improve this. You have to.
You have to. If you want to be taken more seriously, which this league really, really fucking wants, you have to be better at these things. And every single league has things that aren't perfect. It's never going to be 100% perfect. You're never going to get every single fucking call right that takes place. The game would take 7 fucking hours.
Yeah, yeah.
But we can still be better than this. And that's not an excuse to not try to implement things that'll make the game better, that'll make the product better, and just have a better impact on the way this league is viewed worldwide, because this league wants to be mentioned with the larger leagues of the world. And of course, they have their own issues as well, but we can be better. And both of these things on display in the last, 15 minutes of this game last night, I think are things that you can fix.
You do get in the 6th minute of stoppage time a yellow to Robert Taylor for a frustration foul. Well deserved. He kicked the shit out of this guy. I don't remember who it was, but then I don't think I even saw this in the stadium. Diego Rubio picked one up for dissent, just going at the head official. And good, man, good. Yeah. This guy deserved an earful at the end of this. Again, I think similar and did not have the official did not have an effect on the final score. But I think it was poor, especially down the last 20 minutes there. So 2 more yellow cards in the book for good measure.
There we go. Yeah, man. And that's kind of the sign of the times from last night. A lot of frustration for a lot of players last night. And there's an easy person to take it out on, and it's the ref. I know I did. After the head injury thing debacle, that's when I turned much more sour than resigned to a loss, tough, man, tough, and the score line, I think, is indicative of the way St. Louis played. And I do think that they outplayed us last night, and in large part to the hangover and the fact that this was a trap game, in my opinion. And maybe there's no such thing that exists after losing a championship in not the middle of the season, but within the run of the season, and then having to bounce back and play a regular season. Maybe that just doesn't exist. You know what I mean? But that's the way the sport works. And I thought we had the veteran leadership in that locker room to kind of motivate the guys and reinvigorate them to go ahead and be like, we got business to handle still, because job's not done. So Bummer. Shout out to everyone who showed up last night, though. For real, I thought it was going to be way more dead than it was.
56% possession for Austin at the end of this one. 24 shots to 15 in favor of the visitors. 8 shots on target to 2 in favor of St. Louis. Each team had 5 corner kicks. Austin created 1 big chance and converted on the Spot Talk header on FOTMob's model here. 1.1 XG for Austin, 2.09 for St. Louis, and the expected goals on target 1.15 for Austin to 2.45 for St. Louis. Look, man, I know we said it kind of at the top, but we were concerned about the letdown, right? Yeah. We were concerned about the trap game, and it came true in a big way. Yeah. But I am not, I mean, if you guys can't tell, I'm not killing this team about this loss, man, because it's like everything this week was centered around the final, and you came up a little bit short in that game against a very good team. You threw away the RSL game. Man, if somebody wanted to sit there and argue that you should have looked better in that game, and certainly that you should have played better last night, I don't have much pushback for that. But I also am understanding of the context surrounding this week, and especially last night. So I'm not killing these guys for that. But what you got to do, no matter who's here or not, during the international break, you got to bounce back with a much better looking performance. I think win, draw, or loss next weekend. It just has to look more cohesive with a renewed focus and attention to detail, and more, like you brought up earlier, more crisp with your passes and all that, man. And now you finally have a full week to rest, recuperate, watch film, get back on the pitch, or the training pitch rather, and prep for an LAFC team that you have an extra day on here rest-wise. And even more than that, because LAFC has to play on Wednesday as well. So, of course, we will preview that match against LAFC for the second time this year, on Wednesday's episode. The first time we've ever had to do that, I think. Preview a game twice. But, man, I'm looking forward to it. And partially because, as we look at the table here, live table is Vancouver has scored 2 with 15 minutes to go in that one. So if we are probably going to go another 15 minutes here, So Austin FC, unless San Jose comes back with 3 unanswered here in the last 15 minutes, Austin FC will clinch a playoff spot while we are wrapping up this episode. So look, man, and I was talking to H and B outside the Zebra Gate last night, and those guys, I think, were rightfully frustrated. But the one thing I pointed out before we departed was, boys, we are still in 6th.
Yeah.
It does not, it did not hurt us at all last night. And Nico made the point in the presser, and it's completely valid. We did such good work in the summer months, and you still could have done better. They didn't meet our expectations during that stretch, right? That we wanted them to, but they did enough to where you can take that loss last night and still be in 6th. It's not our fault these other teams are also mid. Yeah. It's not. And out of these teams that are very mediocre right now, from Austin FC on down in the West, right now we are the best of the rest. And for where this team is, for what they just went through, I will take that, because you're coming into the queue next Sunday, Sunday Night Soccer, with a chance, the exact same chance you had on Saturday, win, and you clinch the 6th seed, right? And I don't know, man. I feel fine. I'm still let down from Wednesday. And so, I still need this week coming up to get revved up here to go clinch a top 7 seed, right? Because you don't want to add that midweek game leading up to the first round and play around with wild card, even if you're hosting. That one and done, man, is dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And well said there. I am also not subscribing to the doom that has been thrown out. The doomers are out, brother. They are out in force right now. And again, the goals for this season, you make a championship game,
You're going to be in the playoffs, obviously, if this result holds, which I would assume, not going to
It
jinx
would be
this here.
the biggest collapse of Vancouver's season.
For Vancouver to let that happen would be absurd. So, yes, the loss last night, I think you have it's not an excuse, but you have a valid reason as to why you looked the way you looked last night. Yeah. That is now gone. It has evaporated when you have to come back and play this LAFC team next Sunday. It's no longer baked into the equation. So get your mind right, get ready to handle business, and the fans will be there. We'll be supporting and showing up, and you still have what you want to play for when you opened up this season in front of you. So, like you said, I'm still just more upset about the championship loss than I am of what happened last night.
Absolutely. Anything else for you on this game?
Nah.
Come on down to Farmer Field where the champions play. Get ready for the game. It's last business day.
Last business day here on episode 262 of the North End podcast. We know it was decision day, E, and we knew it was you must win and then get some help from North Texas, or technically some help from LAFC 2. So jumping in to this one, pulling up the lineup here for the YouTube viewers. Good to see Jorge, as expected, back in this lineup. But I thought it was interesting. You get both Vlad Danchutu and Peter Grogan off the bench here. So we saw Jorge starting up top a few times over the last few months. I was a little bit surprised to see us go back to it, considering we've been dropping a lot of those games with this type of alignment here. But behind Jorge, you had Jimmy and Mike out on the wings, Irvin, Jacobaro, and Adrian Gonzalez in the midfield, and then no Riley Thomas. Maybe I missed an injury there, but Daniel Chesla got the start at right back. Tony Gomez with the armband next to Jules Berry at the center back position, and Ruben Bonachera out there on the left. Charlie in net. It also looked like, man, the town rotated some as well, which is something we speculated could happen. So coming into this one about 3 p.m. this afternoon, you're feeling good about what's in front of us in our match and just scoreboard watching for the entirety of this one.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to speculate on why you put Alisue in front, because I do think you want to get Irvin and Micah in that lineup. And I think Michael, we've seen play that 9 role here and there, but I do think he's better suited for a midfield / wing position. Sure. And we just know the struggles that Peter Grogan has had. I think everyone can agree he's a talented player, but if your mind's not right, then that it doesn't always translate. So clearly he had enough to get the job done.
Yeah, and look, man, running through this first half here, Austin was very much the team on the front foot through the first 45 minutes. In the 8th minute, you had a pretty cheeky ball from Gonzalez right up the left channel to the foot of Alisue, and as Jorge turns to shoot, he couldn't quite connect, scuffed it a little bit out for a goal kick. 23rd minute, this time, Jimmy still on that left side looking for Alisue once again. He lost one into the path of Jorge, but the town's keeper got there just a split second before Jorge could knot it on frame. And both of those guys avoided a potential nasty collision in the moment. 2 minutes later, scoreboard watching, LAFC 2 scores on North Texas. You also get a yellow card to Jules Berry for pulling down a guy on a potential breakaway. But there you go, man. You get a goal in the other game, and now you got a little bit more oomph to the attack, man. Like now we're on the precipice of putting ourselves into that 8th seed.
Oh, it would have been awesome, for sure. And just a tough way to close out this season with the way that they ended and the way they closed out with the losses that piled up here. But shout out to them for fighting through all the way to the end here and picking up a win and going out on a high note.
Yeah, because it was 31st minute, a yellow card to Micah Burton for a rough challenge, and then 43rd minute, Austin finally breaks through off a long throw down that right sideline. Alisue runs onto it and then sends a pretty crisp pass towards the top of the 6, where Jimmy, diagonal run, cuts across the face of his defender to put it past the keeper. And then Austin officially in the live table up into that 8th spot for the moment. And 2 minutes of stoppage. As the final whistle blows for halftime, Jimmy goes to ground, kind of looking at his legs, stands up, stretching a little bit, hopefully okay going into the half there. And right as the broadcast is going to halftime, at the second screen up here with the LAFC 2 rather, they score again. So it's 1-0 Austin at the half, 2-goal buffer for LAFC 2. Now we come out of the half, multiple changes for the Town. Just again, trying to get most of their main guys some run here with nowhere to go in the table. Austin kicked it toward the corner on the restart, but it went over the end line for a goal kick. And I was hoping at the time, hopefully this isn't an ominous sign that we're just going to fucking bottle this because we can't even kick it out from a standstill. 2 minutes into the half, the Town cutting right through the FC Toe defense, even with plenty of bodies back here in position. Shouts for offside, definitely close. But obviously we have no ability to review plays at the next pro level. So it was Nick Fernandez for the Town putting this one past Charlie. And now Austin has to find a second goal.
Yeah. And they fought till the end here for sure.
51st minute, Jimmy goes down again. Trainers come out examining that same leg or knee that was bothering him at the half. So Avila comes in for Farkelin. And then I thought that was a little interesting over Vlad or Peter Grogan in that moment. You also got Abarca in for Burton on the other side, so 2 new wingers in there. You do get Peter Grogan in for Adrian Gonzalez in the 66th, so you drop Jorge back into that midfield. And then in the 74th, finally, with a well-worked build-up here, Jorge leads Ruben Bonachera down that left side of the 18. Ruben squares it back to Peter Grogan, who's got space about 15 yards out, but his shot gets blocked. Then the townskeeper goes down, and he ends up being subbed off, so you've got a new goalkeeper in net for the Town. And 6 minutes later, North Texas scores a second goal, tying with LAFC 2. And that comes across right as Jorge plays the hero once again. He bends a ball inside the far post, nabs his 10th goal of the season from right outside the 18. This was a wonder strike at this level. But man, just as he's celebrating this and everybody there's going on the Austin side going crazy, it's like everybody on the broadcast is just a little deflated because now you at least you're still alive. You got the win. And then those guys go into a potential PK shootout. If LAFC 2 gets the additional point, then you would get in. But 2 minutes later, North Texas scores a third goal. And then 85th minute, Jorge subbed off for Marcel Ruzel to see this one out. And in the 88th minute of Austin's game, news comes across North Texas has scored a fourth goal. The third one for Sam Sarver. And that's all she wrote, man. It didn't matter what would happen in our game. 4-2 at that point. For it, clearly the better side in North Texas there. Tough way to go. But at the end of the day, you kind of saying you deserve this is maybe a little harsh, but you dropped so many games that were absolutely winnable over the last 6 weeks to 2 months. And so, we were sitting here a month ago saying you control your own destiny, and that just slipped through your fingers very quickly. And so hopefully that is something that this second team can build on. We know that there is a lot of turnover in this roster from year to year, season to season. We'll, of course, jump into over the next week or so, breaking down who's an expiring contract, who's got options, things of that nature for the second team. But second year in a row, man, where you go in, you don't control your own destiny. You put yourself in a playoff position in the live table in the first half, and then things break down in the second half. At least this year, last year, I'm pretty sure we dropped our game on decision day. At least you went out there, you took care of business, you got the win, and then things didn't go according to plan for you elsewhere for games that you could not control. So I'm proud of the guys for the win out there today against still a very solid team there in the Town. Same goal differential, I think. Well, now a goal below St. Louis City too, but a very strong next pro side there. So it's hard to say good season when you get dumped out of the playoffs here, but it was a season.
Yeah, for sure. A bit of a tumultuous one. A lot of things took place with this Austin FC 2 team. Obviously, the emergence of CJ, his his elevation to the first team level. Clearly the best player that they would have had at the next pro level. Some injuries, Jimmy being dinged up. A lot of suspensions this year. I felt like you shot yourself in the foot. Plenty of these games, you get the transition at the keeper position to Charlie. He comes in, kind of sets the world on fire. So definitely disappointing. I guess you can try to hang your hat on the fact that you went out with 3 points. But Sam Sarver doing what he's been doing all season long, and that really sucks. Obviously feeling fantastic about yourself when they're down 2-0 and you got the lead. But bummer, super bummer.
Vancouver has scored a 3rd goal, so I think we can celebrate here. Austin FC has clinched a postseason berth, so at least going to make the wild card game here. Still overwhelmingly favored to clinch a top 7 seed here over the last 2 weeks of the regular season. So look, man, I'm smiling a little bit here. Look, man, we're in. Yeah. Postseason soccer is back in Austin, Texas. Maybe not where we all hoped we'd be, right up in the top 4, competing at a little bit of a higher level in the regular season table there, man. But look, this is, again, you got your work done early. You didn't have to win. I said it to you yesterday, I think, right? You could get 0 points the rest of the season and still get in. And maybe even be top 7. So, but look, man, let's just go get 3 against LAFC next weekend and clinch that 6th seed.
Absolutely. I don't want to be limping into the playoffs, feeling really bad about ourselves and everything like that. So like you said, like we both said earlier, you take this week, you get your mind right, you get a little more distance away from the championship loss, and you can go out there and handle business versus an LAFC team that's not going to have two best players in the league, know, so like the opportunity will be there for sure. And, a small congratulations for now, because you have accomplished this feat. There is more work to be done.
Anything else for you before we shut it down?
No, sir.
All right, everybody. We appreciate you tuning in, sticking with us here in episode 262 of the North End podcast. We're back on Wednesday previewing Austin FC's matchup against LAFC. Talking about some international schedules that we'll be paying attention to during the international break. And of course, talking about everything else that happens in the Austin FC universe between now and then. Enjoy the beginning of your week, everybody. We'll do the same. We'll see you back here on Wednesday for another episode. Until then, he's E, and I'm Zach. Vamos Austin FC, everybody. Goodbye.